So you want a crypto? What's going on, everybody? I'm Joe, I'm your host. Kind of cleaned the place up, churched it up a little bit around here, did some overlays and stuff like that. Uh, Actually, as another one of my projects, I do a lot of digital stuff and overlays, and I never brought it to the channel because it's really time consuming, and you do one thing and then you don't really want to bring it somewhere else. So I did. I spent some time, got it all together. We're back. We're going to talk about some cool stuff. First thing, El Salvador. Maybe Bitcoin sovereign nation currency, right? That's what it sounds like. They voted on it. It's going to go through. We'll see what happens with the IMF and how much money they owe. And IMF's got their fingers in South America pretty deep. Just ask Venezuela and other countries in that region. But I think they got a pretty good check that El Salvador was looking forward to coming from the IMF. And they're not too keen on Bitcoin. I don't know if you know that. We'll see. Let's see what Klaus Schwab's got to say about all this too. El Salvador, while it is very bullish news, it's probably going to lead to a lot of other countries, possibly Paraguay. That's like on the top of my list. Maybe adopting this. Paraguay's got some pretty progressive crypto asset regulations, and a little bit better actually than El Salvador when it comes to altcoins and other things like that. So, possible option. The thing to remember is the bigger perspective. While this might lead to a few different things, El Salvador has a $27 billion GDP. That doesn't even put them in the top 10 for cryptocurrencies. Paraguay, same thing, $38 billion. It's in the top 10, but not in the top 5. So these are, I guess, altcoin projects as far as their size alone compared to Bitcoin. Bitcoin's pretty big. Some of the other possible nations in the regions, we got Mexico. Now we're talking 1.3 trillion. That's a little bit bigger than Bitcoin. That's probably about where Bitcoin, kind of peaked out in there, maybe just above. Panama, 108 billion-ish. Venezuela, half a trillion, 482 billion. So we got some money right there. They got a strong oil market there too. Brazil is 1.8 trillion and growing, possibly 2 trillion by the time they get to it. Argentina is another half a billion. Nicaragua, 37 billion. So some of those are smaller, but some of those, that's a pretty good amount of money. If these things start to cascade into different multiple nations, like you start picking up Brazil, Venezuela, Paraguay, El Salvador, and then, getting into Africa, maybe Nigeria. See, I don't think Nigeria is going to be on the list. They're not going to do this as a sovereign. That's just not the way they work. However, there's a lot of activity in Nigeria, and a lot of people are using it, and it's a $448 billion GDP economy. So, Kenya, $96 billion though. South Africa, $350 billion, something like that. They're definitely a prime suspect for looking at some sort of a Bitcoin or cryptocurrency or progressive regulations. And then, we get down into all the other kind of countries. Just for perspective, we got Ukraine, Russia, India. India's running, so the Russia, they're about 1.7 trillion. India's $2.93 trillion. China's 14.3. Vietnam, that's another country in Asia there that might be something to consider. $262 billion. And then Thailand, $540 billion. And to compare that, the U.S. is $21.4 trillion. Okay, so there you go. And if you want to get to a $50,000 Bitcoin, just remember that's a $1 trillion market cap. So when Bitcoin is at a $1 trillion market cap, they're going to be about a rough $50,000 price for a Bitcoin. Let's go look at some charts now then, right? So here we go. And if you like any of the logos and stuff, I've been kind of playing with it and whatever. I just got whitelisted on Wax, Crypto Rocker. So if you want to check some of these out, I've been basically making a bunch of these promo test rockers for doing some of the channel stuff. If you want one, let me know in the comments below. Put Wax and then put whatever your favorite coin is and your Wax address, and I'll send you one or something close. Or if you go through the time to do that, I'll send you something. All right, let's minimize this and let's get right into it. These countries are, now this is the World Economic Forum, and that's the Klaus Schwab kind of stuff we were talking about. These countries are the world's top remittance. That means basically like sending your money home, kind of. Right? You work in one country and send it somewhere else. India, China, Mexico. Big three right there. India banning cryptocurrency, not banning cryptocurrency. This has been going on for years, back and forth, back and forth. China, same thing right now too, and I think they're in the banning more of the not banning side. But lots of remittance right here, money coming into the country, and the fees on this are astronomical. I don't know if you've ever had to try to send money from country to country, and I imagine sending money from like the United States, Europe, Canada, Australia, something like that. Maybe Australia's a little bit less, I don't know. To India would be expensive. There's a lot of fees. They can do this with a lot less fees by using Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, other digital assets, stuff like that. And Mexico, they're pretty high on this list. And they're one of the countries that we were talking about before. We see some, like the Philippines, we didn't talk about them. Egypt, there's other good examples throughout this, just for usage, not for adoption as like a sovereign currency, right? Just people are going to start using this to send money. They already do. Bitcoin adoption, which countries could follow El Salvador? A lot of them, but like I think Paraguay. Paraguay is probably one of the most progressive countries in the region. Uruguay is pretty progressive as well. Mexico, Panama, those both make sense. Back in Central America, both Mexico and Panama are considered potential Bitcoin adopters, with the latter likely to make waves globally if it follows El Salvador's lead due to its status as a critical shipping lane. So that would be really cool right here. That's, that's like a world gateway. And if maybe they say, look, Panama's going to, instead of using your currency or whatever, since we're such a focal point and, asset to the world, we're going to use a world currency like Bitcoin. That would be very interesting, in my opinion. Venezuela, high inflation, man, tough. Yeah, I've worked there before, and I worked in the oil field for a really long time. It's tough, man. Crazy. It's really interesting how these things work out. I went to Wikipedia. I know it's not like your most peer-reviewed journal source or something like that, but it had it all together, and it's close enough for what we want to do. And this is your list of countries by wealth. So that little chart that I made, this is basically where I got the information. And if you want to check it out on your own, these are all the different countries in order and rank. The interesting thing is El Salvador is not actually on the list. And we said that it was in the 20s, right? 24, 23. So it should be right in here, but I didn't actually see El Salvador on the list. So I don't know who's missing the boat on that, but yeah. It is listed in Latin America and right here, El Salvador. But just, your general information on Wikipedia, but not the GDP. I was interested on that one. You can dig into Wikipedia's economy of El Salvador. And when you do that, we get the GDP rank 103rd, which it should have been on that list and it wasn't. And here's the GDP 24/78. And that's not the GDP per capita, right? That's compared to the population. Just so you know, there's a difference. Okay, so what's the reason for growth in countries like Africa, South America? These are going to be the next two countries. The next billion cryptocurrency users are coming from South America, and they're coming from Africa. That's my opinion. If you want to get the next 1 billion, 5 billion users, the next $1 trillion to come into the cryptocurrency market, it's going to come from South America, and it's going to come from Africa. And it's going to be on things like Cardano, Polkadot, Bitcoin, different projects. I don't remember what's going on in South America. There was one. Anyway, I know the Dash was. Anyway. But Bitcoin is going to be where it starts. We'll get into deeper stuff later. Just saving fees on remittance alone is enough. Here's Africa. Africa, South America are the biggest unbanked, and a lot of Asia and I guess areas as well. But there's a lot of unbanked people, like people that don't have ID cards, people that don't have bank accounts, people that work cash or goods. Like I'm a farmer and I trade my farmed goods to you. You give me a little bit of cash and maybe a goat, and I take the goat home, and then I take the cash and buy some bread. And like these are the economies. They're more primitive style economies, and they're rampant throughout a lot of these countries. You don't go to the bank. And another thing with the bank is, even if you do have all your money in the bank, you may not be able to get it out. So when it comes to that, a lot of these places have the internet. They may not have it in their home. I know some of the places that I've traveled throughout, and I've traveled extensively throughout this region right here: Nigeria, Cameroon, Angola, what is it, the Democratic Republic of Congo. Anyway, they may not have the internet at their home or anything like that, but there's always like an internet cafe or somewhere else that people go, and they're pretty active on the internet. They know how to get on and off of these things. They know how to do different things to where they can use Bitcoin. They can get altcoins. They can establish digital wallets, get ledgers. Like they can make this happen. And that's basically what they're going to have to do, because the currencies are so, back and forth and everything else. But here you can see a lot of Africa is not down with this. Not so much the people of Africa, but the governments of Africa. And it makes a lot of sense right there, because they're controlling. So I remember when I would go through Nigeria a lot, I'd go through Lagos, and then I'd fly to Port Harcourt, and then I'd go down to Oni, and we would use a lot of paper currency. The farther away you got from the city, it was all paper currency. And the interesting thing is, it's illegal to take money out of the country. Like, once you leave, like, they want you to turn that paper cash back in. They don't want you to take that out. Anyway, so then you got like Global Blockchain and Cryptocurrency Market Report right here, 2021. Ukraine and Russia are also leading, and this is in, just a month or so ago, 2 months ago, leading the ranking of cryptocurrency adoption. So now we have, a pretty steady Ukraine, Russian, and as far as all cryptocurrencies go, right now, Bitcoin, where are we at? Last month, we're only down 20%. We're back above 40. We're holding. We've gone above 40,000. Tested back down below. We hit 39 something. Let's jump into this just real fast. We're actually, everybody's kind of getting bearish, but when my last video, I said 2 weeks of like bearish kind of conditions, and then it'll get a little bit more bullish. And that's where we're at right now. Let's expand this out. What's really interesting is if you kind of go with the 1 year on here, and then let's see if I can find, I believe it's this one. No, that's the upper. So we were kind of, you saw the upper, right? Let's go to the upper. Oops. Here's your upper Wyckoff distribution. We were talking about all the manipulation. It was all over the place. Everyone's heard about it and the different phases and everything. And then it crashed, right? So then we went into this phase, this right here, the Wyckoff event schematic 1. And if I close this and we bring this over here, you can see right down here in like the last 30 days, and it's more dramatic on here. If see, like when we spread it out, you can't really see it. You got to do it on the 1 year. And when we hit down, we had right here our SC, then our AR, and these are all of our different tests and stuff like that where we're going back up. But right now we are right in here. We just hit at 35,666 was our LPS, and now we're heading, it looks like, for the SOS right here. And if you want to look at what all these different things are, we can, I made a video recently, but I mean, it's pretty close, man. So you had the whole, this was that upper Wyckoff distribution right there, and this was below. And they have two different variants, one that's less severe and volatile, and one with more, more spring. And it looks like that's where we hit right there. I don't know. Be curious to hear what you say. I'm not a TA guy. I kind of look at TA, but, I kind of look at a lot of things. I've studied a lot of behavioral finance and crowd mentality and stuff like that seems to play into cryptocurrency a lot. It's really emotional and dynamic and volatile. And it's hard to say. So the TA guys are always like, oh, it's going to go up, it's going to go down, nobody knows, really. I mean, almost everything is a 50-50 shot, I guess. So anybody that tells you they know, and honestly, I think that we're starting possibly. I'm trying to look for some like really strong, solid indicators, and it's hard to find. But I think we're starting to diverge from our normal 4-year cycle, and I think that the reason that we're starting to diverge is because before we had a lot of just you and me and people that hey, it's cool, and now you have major institutions, you have governments talking sovereign currency. We're going to probably see more of that. Like these are not the same input parameters that we were dealing with in the model before, right? So that's got to completely change the way the model is going to act. That's my opinion. So I think we're looking for a divergence. I think everyone that's planning and hoping, I'm not saying it's going to go up, and I'm not saying we're not going to have a bear market. I think that DeFi summer, which people are thinking that's a stupid term, just because we had one last year doesn't mean we're going to have one this year. But I still think we're going to have some sort of a DeFi rehype by the end of the year. It may not be huge, but you'll see some sort of a big push for those. You'll see Yearn. When Yearn starts to go, that's when it's coming. That'll be one of the first indicators, in my opinion. And then I still think we have some altcoins to go, but I think that Bitcoin needs to gain the trust of the people again, not the institutional investors. They're going to buy. Like, what was the whole Bitcoin thing? Oh, well, we only sold a little. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do that. And then when we'll probably buy again. We'll maybe let people buy cars with it again. It's all a show, right? It really is. So I wouldn't listen to too much of that. And right now, everybody is bearish on Bitcoin. I mean, when everybody's stomping it and saying, I mean, like even there for a while, there was a big bullish sentiment. Even when things were going down, like right in here, people were, yeah, it's cool. It's cool. And then people finally lost hope, and then they started losing more hope and more hope. But I don't think that it's time for that, man. I think still bearish. Or the other one, the bullish one, the one that goes up. Yeah, I think that's where we're going. I think by the end of the year, we will be above this nonsense right here. People will be happy again. Altcoins, maybe a little delayed. I think Bitcoin has to jump back up. It may try to test that 60% dominance again, but at least into the 50s. And then you'll see the money flow in, and then people will be like, okay, I'm making money again. This Bitcoin thing is cool. Let's talk about these altcoins again. It's my opinion. Love your feedback. I'm back. I'll make some more other videos soon. And if you want, you can check out the whack stuff. If there's something you want, I'll give it to you. Cheers, everybody.